How'd you used to get to the games in those early days?
In the early days, in our dad's Tin Lizzie. And I can show you a photo of the Tin Lizzie.
Great.
Oh, there it is. Thought if I kept looking long enough I'd find it. Alan Agus's Lizzie. That's how we first started off, going to the football and to church, and it was the only car we owned. And we used to have to buy our fuel in a 4-gallon drum, in a square tin drum, the fuel for the car, and we used to keep the tins, and it was my job, Dad's job, to split the tin open and get it flat, and my job to crimp it to build a house with. So I'd crimp these cans, petrol cans that we used to get from the shop in Wirrulla to run our car off of. When they were empty, we'd flatten them out, and I used to have to crimp them with a piece of old railway sleeper with a little hole groove cut in it, and I used to have a little rod of steel, and I used to lay in it, and I used to belt it with a hammer and make it go rounded like that so that it would flute onto one and onto the other. We'd stand them like that and put posts in between the length of the thing and go up like that, and one on top of the other as soon as we got them, until we built a room around a government shed for our house. That's what we lived in.
Terrific.
When I was married in 1921, I had...
hang on, married in 21.
When I married when I was 21, not 1921. I was married when I was 21, and I still lived in that old house the same. We had rubberoid floors.
Which apparently used to be polished with milk.
Yes, milk and water. Separated milk and water. And I used to have to do that once a week. I used to have to milk 10 cows, separate the milk, feed the pigs, and make the butter. Dad used to make the butter the next night, and I would get in a bike and ride anything up to 5 miles to deliver that pound of butter to the neighbours. And that was my jobs, and bring in the cows from probably 5 miles away down the road, milk them, send them back out on the road again in 1944, and when the drought was on, particularly when we had no feed. And they were some of the hardships of being a farmer's child. But we had, each room was kept building onto this government shed. And we had lived in an area with 2 government sheds like that, with a rainwater tank built in between them. And the water running in. One was an implement shed, and the other one was our house getting built with iron around it. And we eventually got it to that stage that it was pretty livable. And in 1957, when I left there, it was still exactly the same as what it was in probably 44.
That's a robust one, that one.
So, yeah, I moved to a stone house, and I thought I had the world at my feet. He was pretty good.
Yeah. But in those days, many families the same.
No,
and not
hardly
just one.
any of
It
them.
was
No,
general thing.
You're talking about the, that's most of the story.
We only ever
that era, yeah.
We only ever bought flour, sugar, tea, jam, and tomato sauce. I think they were the 5 things that sugar and flour. And we made our own butter.
Tea.
Yeah, tea. We had our own milk. We had our own butter and cream. Because I used to sit at the bottom when I can remember when I was only a little walking jackal like this. I used to sit at the base of the cow while my mother squirted milk in the mouth.
Was she a good shot? Or she'd
She'd have it all over
She
me.
would have been a good shot. All that milking.
Yeah, well, when I took over the milking, my mum got sick in 1945, and I was 9 years old, and I had to take over the housework, wash the clothes, milk the cows, feed the pigs, shut the chooks, get the eggs, do the nose bags for Dad in the paddock. Brother had a nervous breakdown. He wasn't much good to anybody, and the sister had left home. She was 11 years older than me, so she couldn't help. My brother cut his finger off in an accident, and for 12 months he couldn't work. So I had to take over his job, loading hay in the paddock and cutting trees down for horses and to eat. And
Anyway.
it was a hard life.
For a 9-10-year-old in
Yeah.
particular.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have been even 19 at that. I finished up only 21.
Okay.
But I was going from 9 to 21 on that.
I must
in
have
that
rescued her, I
routine.
think.
Yeah, you did. Virtually rescued me. My mother was dead. Mother
Anyway,
was gone before I was 21. And it was hard because you had to make your way somehow. And then, of course, the brothers took over driving the old Lizzie, and then we eventually got a Model T. No, what is it? What was the chef truck?
Model A, was it? Model T.
Model
Oh.
T truck? No, Model T car, but we got the old chef truck. And we used to have curtains on the side of it. And the driver and Mum and I used to sit in the front and all the rest got on the back in the wind. And we'd off for 12 miles like that home, into a football match and home again.
And before that was a horse and cart.
And a lot of them were in horse and
Had
carts
many
still.
trips in a horse and cart, or ride the horse, or ride the push
But it was
So
a
you
tough.
did.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We used to ride a horse.
And so you're talking about having a whole team on the back of your truck?
No, not
No,
the whole
just-
team. It
just
was
a
just a
couple of
family,
families.
on,
Oh, okay.
whoever we'd pick up on the road in that didn't have a car. They might have only had a horse and cart, and it was raining or something, so they'd get under the tarpaulin on the back with us. You know,
Who
it
were
was-
those people that you had on the back?
Who are them? Well, there was Wilsons, Duncans, Zipples. Who else would we pick up? Browns, Bulldogs, Morgans, or Youngs. No, not so much Youngs. Browns, Millers.
Well, they're the ones that lived on the road out that
Olivers.
way.
They were the ones that lived along the road that we might have
But
picked
they
up.
wouldn't all go in the same truck.
No,
Wouldn't be room for 'em.
no, not today. Maybe tomorrow or next week we'd have somebody else. They weren't going, so we'd pick up somebody else. And when my mother died, what did Harold and Bill come down and tell us one day, because we didn't have a car to go anywhere. They offered to take us.
Don't know. I wasn't there.
I know you wasn't, but I thought I'd told you enough times to remember.
Remember these stories, Fred?
Yeah, I can remember the
Had a few-
Duncan
few of
boys
my
up.
own.
The Duncan boys over the hill, they had an old car, and we didn't have one. So whenever we were in trouble, Rolly would hop on my brother, would hop on the push bike and go up to the Duncans and say, I want help, want to take Mum somewhere or Dad somewhere or something. And away we'd go in their car. And it was all to help the neighbours, you know.
What did Charlie
things.
Zippel have? Did he have a car?
Yes, he had a little old car when he left there in 1938.
Yeah. So he had another one because
I was born 36.
Mrs Zippel was the midwife of when you were born.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and she was the one that known me.
Yeah.
So it's all a, and they were just some of the olden things, but
But you go back early in that, and there's back in the 39, 45
Drought.
war and
drought in amongst that lot.
39, 45. And
Well, you had depressions before that.
My brother
the
and
cars
I-
couldn't drive along with headlights on, they had to have a shade over so that there's minimum amount
There's
of light.
there's another
There's
really,
a lot of gas burners, of course, on
And the,
with
bu-
charcoal and that.
the buggies had carbide lights, carbide lamps on the side.
there's another
So I
really
can
good
remember
story.
going out at night in the buggy with the carbide lamps, one lamp each side. Goes back, anyway. It's interesting that I started farming, driving horses, and the last seating I put in with a daughter and son-in-law, I went from end of the paddock other without touching the steering wheel.
Yeah, really.
The satellite
modern idea.
navigation. So that's how things have changed in that period. So we're lucky to have lived during that era, or we believe so, because of the amount of changes that happened technology, in the technology field. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realise is that the satellite navigation actually follows it does the same thing as animals used to do, virtually. Because if you go out bush and you get lost and you find an animal pad, there's two things to find out the direction that which it's going. One is that it'll probably get deeper, more defined. The other is branches coming in will head in one direction because they go
I can track a
into it.
snake.
And that's how you find water or whatever it may.
I can track a snake,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
way
really?
it's
Yeah, just
going.
right. But so that you can find
That's not easy.
water a lot, because animals used to go to water. Now, because animals followed their game paths, which is footprint worn in, that they follow furrows. And so in the horse days, you used to have a horse that would follow a furrow.
He was called
So-
a furrow horse.
And they were called the furrow horse. And with their winkers they had on, they had the bit went through their mouth, they had a ring there. Now, if that horse is very good and had been trouble with others, they had another ring just above it, which went round the nose. You could hook their couplings, which are in the top one, so then that furrow horse had a lot more control over the other horses. So you didn't have to steer them. The horse would actually steer them.
They would steer the other horses.
And also when they used to cart water, a lot of watercolour grain carting, the horse used to follow in the wheel tracks. And so they could go to sleep. And so the animal instinct, they think it's so marvellous what satellite technology does now, which is a different form, but to some degree the animals used to do it as well.
Yeah, what you're talking about is basically the same result, isn't it?
So you go one end of the paddock and you didn't have to...
Well, when I was doing the cattle milking for my mum, 10 cows we had in milk at one time, I used to have to get on my bike, go out my main road to about 100 yards over to the gate. The cows could go that way down the main road, they could go that way down the main road, they could go up that way to the Wirrulla Hill Reserve, or they could go back this way to towards the ranges. Now I had to find those cows and bring them home to milk them, and they could be up to 5 mile away. So I'd have to find out which way those cattle were going, or where they'd gone. So what did I do? I rode out onto the road, seen which way the fresh tracks went, whether they went that way or they went this way, and then when I got to the next crossroad I seen whether they went that way or whether they went that way or whether they went that way, or where they cut off back here in the scrub. So when I got there I found no tracks. Well, then they must be up here somewhere in amongst this stuff here on this side. So I'd go up there and then I'd find fresh tracks going that way, so then I'd go that way. Or if there was fresh manure. Now to track a snake, that's a totally different thing. A snake will slither like that and go along like that. So what do you look for when you track a snake is which way a stick, you find that track and watch it and find out if he's gone over a stick. And if he's gone over a stick, he'll push it back behind him. So you'll see where the stick has moved back.
Yep,
So it means he's going that way.
Because he's repelling the...
Yeah.
Same
If he
with
was
the
coming
dirt,
back
they push
this
on the
way,
side.
the stick would have gone that way.
And same with the dirt. When they
So
push to
you've
the
got to
side,
watch that. And they were all Aboriginal things that we had stump pickers and tree cutters and things working for us on the farm at Wirrulla when I was only this side of Grasshopper. And I used to sit out in the flat with them and find out a lot of these things about what happened with the Aboriginals and how they track people and how they track things and all that sort of thing.
they still
It's
do.
very interesting.
But-
And those sort of things were right in my mind, but quite often I used to have to go 5 mile to bring the cows home to milk them and then let them go back out on the road because the only feed we had was on the main roads.
The long paddock,
That was the long paddock.
they did that a lot in eastern states, didn't they? That's where the wide traffic routes were, and they had tried to get periodic stages of water too.
My mother taught me all the schooling and education that I've had, except a couple of years at school, and I've managed very well.
Which is the Wirrulla school? Or?
No, I went to
Wirrulla.
Wirrulla.
Wirrulla closed.
Wirrulla had closed, that's why I didn't go to school, because I didn't have a school to go to within their distance. And one of my brothers had no schooling whatsoever. He was missed out altogether and he could only really sign his name, that's all he could do.
Oh, he could read.
Huh?
He could read.
Who?
Riley.
Jackie.
Jackie.
Jackie couldn't read a note of anything.
He used to read.
Oh, he had a bit of an idea who it was. If he could see a picture, he was all right. But I got by without my education pretty well, I think. And when I got hooked up with him, he taught me a lot.
Education is not necessarily school taught. Education is things you learn.
Yeah, I know.
But then you've got school-based education, then you've got community education, you've got all sorts of education.
My mother had the
True, that's right.
my mother had the tables behind the toilet door,
Oh, yeah.
and she wouldn't let me out until I'd sat there and read them all out where she
At
could
least
hear
at a
'em.
comfortable seat, didn't you?
That's right.
Still remember it.